Everything you know about me is a lie.
Elijah's hands, hidden beneath the table, were shaking. Not from fear, from memory. But there's something the American people don't know. The senator continued, sliding a classified folder across the mahogany surface. Something we kept secret to protect you. Would you like to tell them yourself? Or should I? The cameras zoomed closer. Elijah could feel the weight of 60 million live viewers pressing against his chest like water. He opened his mouth, closed it, then finally whispered the truth that would destroy everything people believed about him.
I wasn't the hero. I never was.
The hearing room erupted. But Elijah's mind was already 5 years in the past, to the night everything started. The night he became someone else's weapon without even knowing it. Have you ever been given credit for something you didn't do? Ever watched people celebrate a lie while the truth stayed buried? This is the story of how genius became a prison, and how sometimes the people we trust most are the ones using us. But to understand how it ended, you need to know how it began. Before we dive into this story, if you're fascinated by true stories about hidden genius, corporate conspiracies, and the price of being noticed, hit that subscribe button. We release deep dive investigations like this every week. And stick around until the end. The final twist will change everything you think you know about this case. 5 years earlier, the digital clock on Cassandra Thorne's computer read 3:47 a.m. when her empire started dying. Not slowly, not with warning. Every screen in Thorne Industries went black simultaneously, like someone had reached into the building and ripped out its soul. Cassandra had built this company from nothing, not from her garage. That was a lie, she told reporters. The truth was messier. She'd built it from student loans she'd never paid back, from code she'd stolen from her university lab, from partnerships she'd sabotaged when they became inconvenient. She'd spent 12 years erasing that history. 12 years constructing the perfect origin story. Immigrant daughter makes good. Harvard MBA, self-made billionaire. Clean. Inspiring. Fake. But now, at 3:47 a.m., none of that mattered. Because every server, every backup, every redundant system she'd installed to prevent exactly this was dead. The crisis meeting convened at dawn. Cassandra's war room looked like something from a spy movie. Glass walls, multiple screens, people in expensive suits pretending they had control. Dr. Aaron Voss arrived first. Former head of cybersecurity at 3 Fortune 500 companies. His consulting rate was $50,000 per day, and he was worth every penny. Usually, the corruption is unlike anything I've encountered, he said, his confidence already cracking. Whatever hit your system, it's not conventional malware. Next came Rebecca Zhang, MIT professor and author of the definitive textbook on system recovery. Then Omar Phillips, the legendary penetration tester who'd saved 6 companies from similar attacks. All of them, the best minds Silicon Valley could buy, stared at black screens and typed frantically at keyboards that might as well have been unplugged. 3 days passed. The financial bleeding was catastrophic. $500 million in lost revenue per day. But money wasn't even the worst part. Patient records locked in hospitals. Banking transactions frozen mid-transfer. Small businesses unable to process payrolls. Real people, the kind Cassandra had stopped thinking about years ago, were suffering because her systems failed. We need to discuss bankruptcy proceedings, board member Vincent Hayes said on day 3, his voice funeral solemn. Cassandra stared at him across the glass conference table. She'd handpicked this board specifically because they were malleable, easily controlled. Now they were ready to throw her overboard. Give me one more day, she said. For what? Another $1 million in consultant fees. She had no answer. The experts had failed. Her credentials meant nothing. And Cassandra Thorne, who'd lied and stolen and manipulated her way to the top, was finally facing a problem she couldn't control. That's when the cleaning lady arrived. Natasha Kozlov moved through the chaos like a ghost. She'd worked at Thorne Industries for 5 years, cleaning the executive suite twice weekly. In that entire time, Cassandra had spoken directly to her maybe 4 times. The woman was invisible. Background noise. Part of the furniture. But today, Natasha wasn't alone. A boy, maybe 10 years old, walked beside her. Skinny, wearing a faded hoodie with anime characters Cassandra didn't recognize. He carried a handheld gaming device, his thumbs moving in complex patterns across the buttons. I apologize, Ms. Thorne, Natasha said in her thick accent, not quite meeting Cassandra's eyes. School is closed today? Teacher meetings. He will be quiet, I promise. Cassandra waved dismissively. Another distraction she didn't need. The boy, Elijah, though Cassandra didn't bother learning his name, settled into a corner. His gaming device made soft electronic sounds that somehow cut through the tension in the room. Dr. Voss was in the middle of explaining why the backup servers were also compromised when Elijah looked up. That's wrong, he said. The room went silent. Every head turned. What did you say? Dr. Voss asked, his tone sharp with irritation. The way you're trying to restart the system. It won't work. Elijah's voice was quiet but certain. You're treating it like a hardware failure, but it's not. It's code. Rebecca Zhang smiled the way adults smile at children who say cute things. Sweetheart, this is very complicated adult work. I know, Elijah interrupted. That's why you're missing it. It's too complicated. The problem is probably something simple. Omar Phillips actually laughed. Kid, we've been analyzing this code for 72 hours. Trust me, there's nothing simple about it. Elijah stood up, pocketing his gaming device. Can I look? The request was so absurd that Cassandra almost said no. But something stopped her. Maybe desperation. Maybe the fact that she'd already lost everything and had nothing left to lose. 5 minutes, she said. Give him 5 minutes. Elijah approached the main terminal with the careful attention of someone who actually belonged there. He didn't ask permission to sit. He just did, his small fingers hovering over the keyboard like a pianist preparing for a concert. Show me the error cascade from the initial crash, he said. Dr. Voss reluctantly pulled up the diagnostic screens. Thousands of lines of red text scrolled past, the digital bloodbath that had defeated the best minds in technology. Elijah studied it for exactly 42 seconds. Then he pointed to a single line buried deep in the chaos. There, he said simply. That's your problem. Dr. Voss squinted at the screen. That's standard syntax. There's nothing wrong with. Yes, there is. Elijah's voice carried the patient tone of a teacher explaining something obvious. See this semicolon? Should be a colon. The function is trying to define a variable, not end a statement. When the system hit peak load 3 days ago, it tried to access this old foundation code, and he gestured at the dead screens around them. Everything collapsed. The room went dead silent. Dr. Voss's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, then dawning horror. That's a syntax error. A basic, fundamental syntax error in legacy code. We ran automated checks, Rebecca Zhang protested weakly. On the new code, Elijah said. This error has been sitting in your foundation code for years. You just never hit it until the system got overloaded. Cassandra felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. Are you telling me my entire company almost died because of punctuation? Elijah nodded seriously. It happens a lot. When I'm coding my games, I spend hours looking for bugs and complicated stuff, and then I find out I just forgot a comma somewhere. Dr. Voss made the correction with shaking hands. One character, changing a semicolon to a colon. Initializing system restart, the computer announced in a cheerful voice. Screens flickered to life. Data streams began flowing. Within minutes, Thorn Industries was breathing again. But Elijah wasn't smiling. He was staring at something on the screen, his young face suddenly very serious. Ms. Thorne, he said quietly, the crash wasn't an accident. Someone put that error there on purpose. And while you were trying to fix it, he turned to look at her with eyes that seemed far too old for 10. They were stealing everything. The celebration died before it began. What do you mean, stealing? Cassandra's voice was ice. Elijah pulled up access logs, his fingers moving with disturbing fluency across the keyboard. See these file transfers? Someone's been downloading your data. Customer files, financial records, proprietary code. Everything. How long? Vincent Hayes demanded. Elijah scrolled through the logs. The big downloads started when the system crashed 3 days ago, but there are smaller ones going back. He paused, counting. 6 months. Maybe longer. The implications crashed over everyone simultaneously. 6 months of systematic data theft. 6 months of corporate espionage. 6 months of someone systematically destroying them from the inside. Can you trace them? Cassandra asked. I'm trying, Elijah said, opening new windows, creating programs on the fly. But they're good. Really good. They're bouncing the signal through lots of different servers in different countries. Dr. Voss moved to his own terminal, trying to follow what Elijah was doing. This is advanced network forensics. Where did you learn this? YouTube, Elijah said absently, his attention fixed on the screen. And from hacking game servers. Minecraft mostly. The adults exchanged glances. A 10-year-old applying gaming logic to corporate cybersecurity. It should have been absurd. But it was working. Found something, Elijah announced. The hacker isn't just stealing data. They're also manipulating your customer accounts. Moving money around. Small amounts, a few dollars here and there, but it adds up to. He did quick mental math, about $2 million over 6 months. They're framing us for embezzlement, Rebecca Zhang said. Cassandra felt the room tilt. This wasn't just a hack. This was corporate assassination. Systematic. Planned. Designed to destroy not just her company, but her personally. Who would do this? She whispered. Elijah continued working, pulling up personnel files, comparing access patterns. Someone who knows your company really well. Someone who had high-level access to your systems. Someone named. He paused, highlighting a username, Damien Cross. Cassandra's face went white. Damien Cross, her former head of cybersecurity. The man she'd fired 8 months ago for incompetence. Or what she'd called incompetence. The truth was Messier. Damien had discovered irregularities in Thorn Industries' financial statements. Things that suggested Cassandra was using client funds for unauthorized investments. Things that could send her to prison. So she'd fired him, smeared his reputation, made sure he'd never work in tech again. And now he was destroying her. Wait, Elijah said suddenly, his voice tight. He knows we're watching. On the screen, the data theft suddenly accelerated. Gigabytes of information flowing out at impossible speeds. And then, worse, files began disappearing. Customer databases, backup servers, financial records. Everything Thorn Industries needed to survive was being deleted in real time. Can you stop him? Cassandra asked desperately. Elijah's fingers flew across the keyboard, but for every attack vector he blocked, 2 more opened. He's using automated tools, attacking from hundreds of places at once. I can't. He stopped mid-sentence. Natasha had moved from her corner, standing now just behind her son's chair. She wasn't watching the screen. She was watching Elijah, and there was something in her expression, something Cassandra couldn't quite read. Mama, Elijah said quietly, not looking away from the screen. I need your help. No, Natasha said firmly. We agreed. Never again. People will get hurt if we don't. People always get hurt. Natasha's voice cracked with emotion. That is what we left behind. That is what we promised to escape. The room had gone silent. Everyone staring at the cleaning lady who suddenly seemed like someone else entirely. What's going on? Cassandra demanded. Natasha closed her eyes. When she opened them, she was looking directly at Cassandra for the first time in 5 years. Really looking. And Cassandra saw something she'd never noticed before. Intelligence. Deep, calculating, dangerous intelligence. My name is not Natasha Kozlov, the woman said in perfect, unaccented English. That's just the identity the Witness Protection Program gave me. My real name is Dr. Natalie Constantine, former NSA cryptographer. And for the past 5 years, I've been hiding from people who want me dead. The confession hit like a bomb. Dr. Aaron Voss spoke first, his voice barely above a whisper. You're the Dr. Constantine? The one who designed the encryption protocols for. Yes, Natalie interrupted. And the same one who discovered those protocols were being used by defense contractors to sell classified information to foreign governments. I testified. I had evidence. And 2 weeks later, my apartment exploded with my husband inside. She looked down at Elijah, and her voice softened. I had a 3-year-old son. The FBI offered us new lives, new names, safety. But the deal was absolute. No computers, no technology work, nothing that could flag us in any database. So I cleaned houses, and I taught my son everything I knew, in secret, so he'd have the skills to protect himself if they ever found us. Cassandra stared at the boy at the terminal. So Elijah isn't actually. He's exactly what he appears to be, Natalie said firmly. A brilliant child who learned from YouTube and video games and his mother's bedtime stories about code. But I've been guiding him. Through an earpiece. This whole time. Elijah reached up and removed what looked like a hearing aid. It was actually a miniature communication device. Every solution he found. Natalie continued. Every diagnosis. That was me. I saw what Damien was doing. I've been watching your systems for months, trying to decide if I should intervene. If you were worth the risk of exposure. And Cassandra's voice was hollow. You're not, Natalie said bluntly. You built this company on stolen code and ruined reputations. You're exactly the kind of person I used to fight against. But she looked at the screens showing Damien's ongoing attack. He's worse. What he's doing won't just destroy you. It'll hurt thousands of innocent people. Cassandra felt something inside her crack. Every lie she'd told herself, every justification for her ruthless climb, suddenly stripped away by a woman she'd treated as invisible for 5 years. So what happens now? She whispered. Natalie sat down beside her son, her real son, the extension of her genius, and her fingers found the keyboard. Now we stop him. Together. Properly. What followed was like watching a symphony performed by two virtuosos. Elijah handled the speed, the intuitive leaps, the creative solutions. Natalie provided the deep technical knowledge, the understanding of systems architecture, the experience that only comes from decades of work at the highest levels. Mother and son worked in perfect synchronization, not speaking, barely needing to communicate. They were two halves of one mind. Within minutes, they'd traced Damien's command center to a server farm in Miami. Within an hour, they'd begun the counterattack. But Damien wasn't helpless. He's fighting back, Elijah said, watching new attacks bloom across the screen. He's desperate, Natalie corrected. That makes him dangerous. The digital battle that followed would later be described by cybersecurity experts as the most sophisticated hack versus hack engagement ever recorded. Damien threw everything at them. Military-grade malware, zero-day exploits, attacks that shouldn't have been possible with civilian technology. Natalie countered each one, her fingers moving with mechanical precision. But then Damien did something unexpected. He stopped attacking Thorn Industries. Instead, he launched a coordinated assault on 17 other tech companies simultaneously. Companies that had nothing to do with the current situation. Innocent victims. He's trying to overwhelm us, Elijah said. We can't defend everyone at once. We're not supposed to, Natalie said grimly. This isn't about winning anymore. He's sending a message. On the main screen, a text communication appeared. Hello, Natalie. 5 years is a long time to hide. The syndicate sends their regards. The room went cold. What syndicate? Cassandra asked. Natalie's face had gone pale. The defense contractors I testified against. The ones who killed my husband. They're the ones who hired Damien. But why target me? They didn't. Not initially. Natalie pulled up financial records, shell companies, hidden transactions. Look at your investors. 3 of your largest shareholders are connected to the same defense contractor I exposed. They've been using Thorn Industries to launder money. You were convenient. Legitimate looking. Perfect cover. Cassandra felt the floor drop out from under her. So this was never about Damien's revenge. Oh, it's absolutely about his revenge, Natalie said. But he's working for people who had their own reasons to destroy you. You fired him, gave him motive. They gave him resources. Perfect partnership. Another message appeared. You can save Thorn Industries, or you can save the other 17 companies. Not both. Choose quickly. You have 10 minutes before I start deleting patient records from hospital systems. Elijah looked at his mother with wide, frightened eyes. Mama, what do we do? Natalie stared at the screen. At the impossible choice. At 5 years of hiding suddenly stripped away. We break our deal, she said quietly. We call the FBI. We end the hiding. And we hope they can protect us from what comes next. She reached for her phone. Cassandra grabbed her wrist. Wait. If you do that, they'll find you. The syndicate. The people who killed your husband. You said it yourself, they're still out there. I know. So why? Natalie looked at her son. At this brilliant, terrified child who'd been carrying her genius without knowing the weight of it. Because he deserves to stop being invisible. Even if it costs us everything. She made the call. FBI agent Jennifer Walsh arrived with a tactical cyber crimes unit within 30 minutes. By then, Damien had made good on his threat. 2 hospitals had lost access to patient records, and a small-town bank had suffered a catastrophic system failure. Real damage. Real victims. Dr. Constantine, Agent Walsh said, recognition immediate. We've been looking for you for 5 years. I know. I'm sorry. But we have bigger problems right now. Together, they coordinated the counterattack. The FBI's resources combined with Natalie's expertise and Elijah's intuitive brilliance created something Damien couldn't fight. Within 2 hours, They'd locked him out of the systems he'd compromised. Within 4, they'd traced his physical location and had agents en route. But Damien had one final move. He's uploaded everything, Natalie said, staring at her screen in horror. Every piece of data he stole from every company. Customer information, financial records, trade secrets. He's dumping it all on the dark web. Free download. The implications were staggering. 17 companies' worth of confidential data, suddenly public. The lawsuits alone would be catastrophic. Some of these companies wouldn't survive. Can we stop the upload? Agent Walsh asked. It's already done, Natalie said. But, she paused, studying the code. Wait, this doesn't make sense. What doesn't? The file size. It's too small. 17 companies' worth of data should be terabytes. This is barely 50 gigabytes. Elijah leaned forward, studying the screen over his mother's shoulder. Mama, I think it's fake. Natalie's fingers flew across the keyboard, dissecting the uploaded files. He's right. These are fabricated. Fake data made to look real. Damien is. She stopped, understanding dawning. He's bluffing. He never actually stole the critical data. He made us think he did, but he was actually planting evidence of something else. Evidence of what? Cassandra asked. Natalie pulled up financial transactions, emails, communications that Damien had carefully altered and seeded into Thorn Industries systems. Evidence of massive fraud, tax evasion, securities manipulation. All pointing to you, Cassandra. He was never trying to destroy the company. He was trying to destroy you specifically. Frame you for crimes that would send you to prison for decades. Cassandra felt numb. And the other 17 companies? Collateral damage. Camouflage. Making his attack on you look like part of a larger pattern so no one would realize the real target. Agent Walsh was already on her phone, coordinating with federal prosecutors. We're taking Damien into custody now. And Ms. Thorne, we're going to need you to come in for questioning about these financial irregularities. They're fake, Cassandra said. He fabricated them. Maybe, but we'll need to verify that. Extensively. Cassandra looked at Natalie, at Elijah, at the ruins of her carefully constructed empire. What happens to them? She asked, gesturing to mother and son. Witness protection will be reinstated, Agent Walsh said. New identities. New location. No, Elijah said suddenly. I don't want to be invisible anymore. Baby, Natalie started. Mama, I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of pretending I'm not smart. I'm tired of you cleaning houses when you should be, his voice cracked, when you should be someone important. I am someone important, Natalie said softly, pulling her son close. I'm your mother. That's all I need to be. But it's not all I need you to be. Elijah looked up at her with tears streaming down his face. I want to learn from you. Really learn. Not secret lessons. Not in hiding. I want to be your student. Officially. Even if it's dangerous. The room was silent except for the humming of computers. Natalie looked at Agent Walsh. If we refuse witness protection? If we stay visible? The syndicate will come for you. Maybe not today. Maybe not this year. But eventually. And if we hide, you'll be safe. And invisible. Forever. Natalie closed her eyes. Opened them. Made her choice. Then we stay visible. And we fight. Together. 3 months later. The congressional hearing room was packed. Cassandra Thorne sat at the witness table, looking thinner, grayer, worn down by months of federal investigation. Ms. Thorne, Senator Huang said, you've been cleared of the criminal charges filed by Damien Cross. But the investigation revealed significant ethical violations in how you built your company. Stolen code, sabotage partnerships, systematic fraud that, while technically legal, was morally bankrupt. Cassandra nodded. Yes, Senator. That's all true. What do you plan to do about it? I'm stepping down as CEO of Thorn Industries. The board is implementing new oversight protocols. And I'm establishing a foundation dedicated to supporting underprivileged students interested in technology. It will be fully funded by my personal assets. Approximately $300 million. Why? Cassandra looked at where Natalie and Elijah sat in the gallery. Because I was taught a lesson by a woman I never bothered to see. And I want to spend the rest of my life trying to deserve the second chance she gave me. Senator Huang turned her attention to Natalie. Dr. Constantine, you violated the terms of your witness protection agreement. You exposed yourself and your son to significant danger. What? Natalie stood, her voice clear and strong. Because my son taught me that being invisible isn't the same as being safe. Real safety comes from being seen, being known, being part of a community that protects each other. We were hiding from danger, but we were also hiding from life. And if the syndicate comes for you, then we'll face them, together, in the light. The hearing concluded. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Natalie and Elijah walked out of the building into bright Washington sunlight. They had new jobs, both of them consulting with the FBI's cybercrime division. They had a new apartment, no longer in hiding. They had new lives that belonged to them. But that evening, when Elijah checked his email, there was a message waiting. No sender, no subject line, just 4 words. I'm proud of you, son. Underneath, an attached file. A video. Elijah's hand trembled as he opened it. The video was grainy, clearly taken from a surveillance camera. It showed a man in a hospital bed, bandages covering most of his body, machines beeping steadily. And then the man opened his eyes. Eyes that looked exactly like Elijah's. His father. Alive. The video ended. Another message appeared. They told you I died in the explosion. I let them think that. I've been hiding even deeper than you. But now that you're visible, now that you're fighting, I can help from the shadows. The syndicate is coming. Sooner than you think. Watch for my signals. Trust no one. Not even your mother knows. Dad. Elijah stared at the screen, his world tilting. His father was alive. His father had been alive all this time. His father had let them think he was dead. The file auto-deleted. No trace remained. Elijah sat frozen, a secret burning in his chest. Should he tell his mother? Should he trust a message that might be another trap? Was the syndicate playing with him? Outside his window, Washington, D.C. glittered with lights. Somewhere in that city, enemies were planning their next move. And somewhere else, maybe, possibly, incredibly, his father was planning his. Elijah closed his laptop. Some secrets, he realized, were even more dangerous than invisibility. And he'd just learned the biggest secret of all. The investigation into the syndicate is ongoing. Documents from the case suggest there are at least 12 more corporations currently being used for illegal operations, but the FBI won't confirm which ones. If you want to see more deep-dive investigations into real corporate conspiracies and cyber warfare cases, subscribe to this channel. We release new episodes every week. Drop a comment below. Do you think Elijah should tell his mother about his father? Or is the message a trap? Your theories might be featured in our next episode. And remember, the people you don't notice might be the most important ones in the room. Sometimes genius wears invisibility as protection. Sometimes it has no choice. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay questioning, and maybe pay a little more attention to the people society tells you don't matter. They might be the ones who save us all.